to the Becoming You show, where limits get torched and possibility takes the mic. I'm Leah Rowling, human in permanent beta, neurostrategist, mom to 3 amazing humans, married to 1 legendary soul, and your no fluff permission slip to stop waiting. Every week, we rewire brain patterns, smash hand-me-down mindsets, and dive into the daring, identity-shifting conversations most people dodge. Ready to turn potential into proof? Grab your pen. Your next chapter starts now. Hello, my beautiful friend. How are you? Welcome to the Becoming You show. I am your host, Leah Rowling, and thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing yourself again this week. Last week, we started what I'm going to call a 4-part June series called The Truth About Relationships. And what I have heard from you over the last 7 days, maybe not so many days, maybe through the weekend, and now I'm pre-recording, so doing some math here. The messages, the screenshots, the I needed this text truly has been everything. So thank you for choosing the work. Thank you for choosing to participate, right? And that truly is the leadership that changes everything. So thank you. As always, I'm picturing you right now. Maybe you're at your desk, maybe you're in your car, maybe you're on a walk, maybe you're in your kitchen, maybe you're on your treadmill, but wherever you are, I am with you. So I want to start by asking a question today. And this is the question. I want you to, less of a question maybe and more of a reflection, but I want you to think about someone in your life who might have just disappointed you recently, okay? Not in a giant like way, not in this huge betrayal of trust way, just, I don't know, they didn't show up the way that you wanted them to. They didn't remember the thing. They didn't say the thing. They didn't do the thing. They did not see what should have been obvious to them. Okay? Got that in mind? Okay. Now I want to ask, does this person, like verifiably so, does this person know what you expected from them? Like really know. Not the vague version like, well, duh, he should know, or like all humans should know, like I know, like you should know, but the very specific version, meaning did you tell him or her out loud? This is what I'm hoping for. This is what I'm requesting. This is what I expected, right? Did you ask out loud, would you be willing to do this for me? Would you be willing to say this? Would you be willing to text me back when I text you? Would you, like, do they know, right? Or did you expect them to know? And it's huge to know the difference, okay? Did you expect them to be thoughtful enough, pay attention enough, considerate enough, good enough, whatever you want to fill in the enough blank to know? And then this is the deeper question that I want you to sit with, okay? Because it's interesting what will come up if you let it. You could just hear me talk, it's no problem. Or you could do the work with me in here, okay? Which means I want you to have this person in mind that disappointed you because of an expectation that maybe you were very articulate with, and you have proof, confirmation that they know and they agreed to the knowing, or maybe not, and we'll get to all of that, so hang tough. But I want you to see and reflect on, where did you learn that this was an expectation? I mean, where did you learn that what a good person did that honored your request and expectation? Like, what did you learn what a good partner, kid, friend, spouse, boss, employee, what have you, is supposed to do in the first place? Like, who taught you the rule, right, that you are now using to grade them on their performance? Did you consciously sign up for that rule? Did you put it in your rule book for your humans? Did you inherit it, right, from the home that you grew up in? maybe the faith that you were raised in, maybe your earlier relationships that kind of taught you what to do and what not to do, the culture, the era that we live in now, politically, like and without, and here's the caveat to this whole inquiry is without ever stopping to ask if it was true for you. Okay. And so today we're going to talk about something that I think is one of the biggest sources of relational suffering that I've seen in my work. And it's the silent rules, these silent expectations, this should book that we hold people to. Okay. The rules that most of us have never written, most of us have never thought consciously about where did this should come from? Where did that rule come from? Where did that expectation come from? Right? And yet we hold everybody hostage in the consideration and the following and the upholding of a rule that in many cases isn't verifiably true. Right? And I'm going to bring to you a story from my own life, which is a recent story, a moment that I've had with my son and taught me again, right? The difference between understanding this rule book, holding people responsible for my rules, holding them in expectation, holding them liable for my emotion versus just a request, right? The difference between burying someone in my disappointment, burying someone in my irritation and frustration, and inviting them into a different possibility outside of my book. We're going to talk about that. So, I want to name what we're actually going to be talking about. In coaching language, we call it the manual, okay? In plain language, I like to call it either the silent rule book or the should book. I like the should book, right? Because most of our expectations come in the form of should. Well, they should have known. They should have done this. They should. I'm guessing, go back to the person that we started with at the very beginning of the conversation, the person that you're disappointed in. Okay. I'm guessing there's a should in there. They should know better. They should have done this. They should have fill in the blank. They should have. And we have the should book. And it's a set of unwritten expectations that we carry for another human about how they should behave, what they should say, what they should remember, how they should show up, what they should know, right? Without being told. We have rules for everyone, you guys. I want you to think about it. We have rules for our partner, right? They should come home on time. They should bring up the hard thing. They should know that I need flowers on this day. They should not need to be reminded. They should drink less. They should work more. They should work less, right? They should know that the garbage goes out on Thursday. They should know that if there are boxes on the front porch that they should be brought in, right? They should know that I had a hard day and they should meet me with a level of grace, right? We have all of these rules for the humans in our life. We've got rules for our kids, right? They should call. They should be grateful. They should be more appreciative than they are. They should remember our birthdays, right? They should know what matters to me. They should text me back when I text them. They should answer their call when I call them. They should just be better. They should be more respectful. Okay. We have rules for our parents. We have rules for friends, right? They should notice when I've been quiet. They should notice when I've avoided certain requests for getting together, right? They should reach out. They should remember. Like we have rules for strangers for how people should drive and how people should meet us and greet us in stores, right? I want you to consider that. We have so many. We have so many rules. And most of them were not even ours, right? Again, we inherited so many of these rules. And I want to take you just somewhere deeper because the rules themselves are just the surface. Okay? The deeper question, right, where I asked you to go to is where did these rules come from? Because because what I have learned in my work with my clients and what they learn and what every one of us has to sit with from time to time is the rules that we are holding people to, the expectations running our life are inherited, right? They're inherited. And the reason why, and then I'll expand on this, but the reason why this is important, so stay with me, is because these rules are the very things that rob you of the freedom, rob you of the peace, rob you of fully connecting with the people in your life that you most want to love, that you most want to connect with. It's really hard to connect with somebody authentically and without condition when we are conditionally appreciating them, loving them, liking them, whatever capacity you want to have a relationship with them based on rules that we didn't even write. Okay. That's where I'm going with this. Okay. So we inherited rules from our parents, from our grandparents, like I mentioned, from the household we grew up in, from religion. Okay. We absorbed thousands of rules about how relationships are supposed to work, how they should look like, what love looks like, what respect looks like, what loyalty looks like, what a good partner does, what a good kid does, what a good parent does, what is and not allowed, right? Long before you had the capacity to really evaluate any of them. And then you took those rules, right, which again, you never consciously chose, and you've been running them on the people in your life ever since. Okay? And I really want us to understand why this is important because whenever we try to narrate and define good based on our shoulds, people will always fall short. They will always fall short because people didn't wake up to your should book. They didn't wake up thinking, wow, I wonder how Leah wants me to be today. I wonder if Leah would prefer me do this or prefer me do that. Right? Even if I gave them the book to look at and review, they most likely might be able to do that for a day or two, but if it's not inherent in them based on their own experiences, based on what they believe is true about who they should be and who I should be for them, there's a massive level of incohesion. I'll just call it that. So, but the part of all of this that I want you to sit with before you push back is these rules are not facts. They are not universal. They're just not. Even though I'm sure you have lots of proof around why your shoulds should be the way that they are. They're not facts. They're not universal. I'm guessing in a court of law, they could not be proven. Okay? And they are not the way that relationships work. Okay? They are beliefs. Yes. They are inherited stories. Yes. They are someone else's voice. Yes. They started running inside your head so early that you consistently mistook them as your own and misrepresented them for truth, fact. Doesn't mean they are. Okay? So, when you examine your rules, whose rules are they? Is what they say even true? And most of them, when you hold them up to the light, like I said, not universal, not facts, cannot be proven in a court of law, right? And when you can name a rule that's not yours, it's not factual, you have a belief, you have a thought that is optional, and you get to choose. You can keep it consciously should you want to, because it actually serves you and the people that you love, and it honors how you want to meet, right? That relationship. Or you can release it entirely, or you can rewrite it. You get to decide what's actually true for you, right? But I want you to consider, as I mentioned at the beginning, the rules that you never wrote are running your relationships right now. They're running them. And they're either running them in a way that brings massive clarity and connection, or they're ruining them. And so before I get into the personal story that I wanted to bring forward, I wanted to give you some language because I think it's important. We conflate a lot of these words in our heads and it costs us. Okay? So, a want, what we want someone to do. It's a preference. Okay? I would love flowers on my birthday. Okay. It's clean, it's honest, it's articulated, there's no strings attached, there's no emotional contract behind it. It's a want. Then we have a want match. A want match is what makes a relationship beautiful. Okay. You want flowers, they want to give flowers, a match. You want quality time, they want quality time, a match. But where we don't have a match is when you want something and they don't want to give you that something, right? This wife wants a really expensive purse, like a designer brand purse, and she wants it from her husband for her birthday. And husband does not want to give her a quote unquote designer brand purse for her birthday. We do not have a want match there. Okay. And the wife is going to use it against the husband as proof that the husband really doesn't love her, because if husband loved her, he would for sure buy her a purse. But if he buys her the purse, that's not love, that's manipulation. And we manipulate our relationships all the time with our should books. I want you to see that. I want you to see it clearly, because you don't have a relationship if that is the case. Okay? Find want matches with your mate. You don't have to have a lot of them. You have to have some of them that you both agree on. Okay? Then we have requests. Okay? A request is making the want known. Okay? Right? So a request is, I would like flowers on my birthday. A request is, would you be willing to call your grandmother this week? A request would be, would you be open to go on a date night with me on Friday? These requests are held very lightly. Again, no contract, no unnecessary expectation pain, right? You're making the ask, they get to answer. They get to decide. In the request, you get to decide if there's a want match there, okay? None of them require you to be overly disappointed, overly anxious, overly frustrated that they're not meeting you with what it is that you want. They were never supposed to. We have this false illusion that people should just follow our book of shoulds. That they should just do what we say we want because we want them to. Who, like, in what world do we live in that is true? There are expectations that I do believe that we can have because we bring them on as a employee in our job. Like we have a level of expectation for a level of pay. Okay. We can have expectations of our children that live in our house. We can have expectations of ourselves. Other than that, it's a request, my friends. It is a request that we ask to see if we can explore what a want match could look like. And then we have rules. A rule is none of those. A rule is a silent expectation that you signed for someone else and are now using to give them a grade on it. They're a B, they're a C. Oh, they failed. They failed my book completely. Okay? And a threat is a rule with a consequence. If you don't, then I will. It's not a boundary, right? We're getting to boundaries in like episode 4. A threat is a way of forcing compliance with a rule that you may not even know that you are running. So we have to pay attention to which we are running. Are we holding a want beautifully, honestly, without contract and contempt? Are you noticing a want match and celebrating it? Are you making a clear request out loud, not silently, but out loud? This would be my request. Should the person on the other side meet that request? Not up to me. Not up to me. Nor is it up to my emotional well-being. They're going to do them. I get to meet them with my request. All of those are clean. All of those don't create unnecessary suffering and pain. Rules, silently scoring the other person against it, grading them, and feeling let down when they don't comply, that creates pain and suffering. And again, most of the suffering of us humans happen because we run these rules and threats and these consequencing scenarios without realizing that we're doing it. And the other person is genuinely confused because they did not know that they were enrolled in the class that you were testing them on. They did not know that they were taking a test. They thought they were just in a relationship with you. And what's also really fascinating is they didn't know that they had a book for you. And in their should book, you wouldn't be shoulding them. Okay? So this is where it comes to life, right? Because as I was thinking about relationships, because we're doing relationships in Inner Lab and the membership. If you're not in there, get in the membership. Go to the show notes. Get in there. The price is ridiculous. We'd love to have you in there. The membership is where you actually get to work on your life. Okay, these podcasts, great, right? They're informative. They're reflective in some nature, but the practice is in the lab, right? The practice is in the lab. So if you're not in there, I want you in there. But real world, like this kind of stuff happens, right? My son recently forgot a birthday. I reminded him. Okay, I went to the next level. I didn't just assume that he would know, that he quote unquote should know. No. I reminded him and he forgot. So my should isn't that he should have remembered. My should is that he shouldn't have forgot. See the difference? Had I not have told him about the birthday and he didn't do it, then my should would have been that he remembers birthdays. But I reminded him. Now I have a should in my book that people shouldn't forget things, right? And I had a reaction, right? Not a reaction necessarily to the forgetting, right? My should, but what I made the forgetting mean. And that's the conversation today that I want to end with, okay? What we make it mean when other people don't act as if we should. Because that gets the heart of why it is that we have a book to begin with, okay? I made it mean that he didn't care. I made it mean that he doesn't love me and he doesn't respect the family and that he's not thoughtful and that he's not being prepared for adulthood and that something really important was slipping and that me as his mother should be a better mom and should have communicated the importance, right? My rule said, if you love me, you would have remembered. You wouldn't have forgotten. If I am a good moms have kids that remember these things. Good moms have kids that don't forget. Okay? And when he didn't, I emotionally buried him in my disappointment. I made the disappointment be the topic of conversation. Okay? As opposed to an opportunity to grow the relationship, I guilted him. Do you see? He apologized, he corrected it, and here's what I had to sit with. Okay? No apology that he was going to make was going to make me feel better about my disappointment because he wasn't responsible for it. Okay? My goal was never supposed to be bury him in my disappointment so he feels bad like I do. The goal there was growth. I wanted to wake him up relationally. Those are not the same things. So I came back to him with this. And I'm going to read you or paraphrase. I'll paraphrase the message that I wrote because I do think that words matter. So basically, I said that I'm sorry. That as I was thinking more about our conversation, that I wanted to apologize for emotionally burying you in my disappointment, right? I should have taken this moment to wake you up relationally, not bury you. And I also don't think that this is just about forgetting a birthday, okay? I believe that he, as a senior graduating, he's in a season right now where life is mostly about freedom and golf and fun and friends and loosely preparing for college. And while there's nothing wrong with enjoying the season of life, right? Some really important muscles can weaken without some structure, without some responsibility, without some intentionality, right? I missed the moment of offering up to him that thoughtfulness is a skill. And relationships require both effort and remembering, right? And adulthood requires people to think beyond themselves. And this moment highlighted that for me. And I went on to probably say that I believe in him and that um, I wanted to have growth conversations, not guilt-based conversations. And I wanted to bring forward to him the responsibility around freedom and how without it, we can drift outside of our own character. And I'm sure I ended it with, and I love you too much, right? To not be there to challenge you and to call you up instead of out, which is what I did, call him up into the character that he's capable of. Okay. And here's what I learned, or maybe I should say, relearned about this whole lesson, right? The forgetting was not actually the problem. The problem was a season that he's in where consumption is high and contribution is low. Okay. Where these muscles of like thoughtfulness and structure and responsibility, right, can weaken if nobody names it. And my first move, burying him in my emotional disappointment, was running a rule, right? If you love me, you would have remembered. It treated a missed birthday like a verdict on his character. Again, not even my rule. The rule was something that I had absorbed somewhere along the way about what love was supposed to look like. How love remembers, how love performs, how love proves itself. And I was applying that inherited rule to my son. And my second move, right? The message that I kind of reframed and re-paraphrased was an invitation, not a rule. I hope you notice the difference, not a threat, an invitation to grow, an offer of a level of like structure as preparation, an assumption that he is becoming someone, not failing to be someone. And that is the difference between an inherited rule and a chosen response. The rule punishes the forgetting. The rule punishes him by giving him an F. The invitation prepares, right? The version of me that emotionally lashed out is a version that I still have access to. The work is not pretending that I do not have inherited rules. The work is noticing them, naming them, asking them where they came from, and choosing a second move instead of staying in the first. Okay? So you've inherited rules for yourself. Okay? Whose rules are they? Where did you learn them? Are they true? And so the work for the rest of the week is to bring up that person that created the disappointment that we talked about earlier. Okay? And I want you to ask yourself, what rules are you holding them to? What does your should book look like for them? And I want you to write them down. I want you to write the actual lines down. They should do this. And then, if you're really courageous enough and brave enough, why? What do you make it mean when they don't? What do you make it mean about your relationship to them? What do you make it mean about your own lovability, your own worth, your own enoughness? With Levi, I made it mean that I wasn't a good mom because good moms have kids that remember. I made it mean something about me and him respecting me or not. I made it mean a lot of things that it didn't have to mean, and it slowed the invitation down. That whole debate back and forth of me placing disappointment at his feet and him apologizing like a full almost night when the invitation was always there. Okay? So, some of the rules you will keep consciously, again, because you believe in them and you believe that they're important, okay? Some of them you will release, some of them you will rewrite, but just know that your rules are for you. They then translate into boundaries, which we'll talk about in 4, but they're for you. Your rules are for you. Your shoulds are for you, not for anyone else. Okay? Don't try to should someone into your ability to love them more. So, this is week 2 of 4. Next week we go into outsourcing, right? The assurances and the permissions, right, that we've been waiting on someone else to give you, that I'm going to tell you as a spoiler alert, you're the only one that can. As I mentioned in this case, no apology on his end would have made my disappointment go away, because he wasn't the cause of my disappointment. The cause of my disappointment was because of my disappointing thinking. My disappointing thinking and my should book, which is where my disappointing thoughts came from. Because when you don't adhere to the should book, I then become disappointed. Okay? So, 3 things. Most of the rules you're holding on to, you did not write. The rules are in your head, they're not facts, right? And you can love somebody fully and still ask for what you want. Just don't require them to perform rules they never agreed to. Okay. So, again, if this caused you to think differently about the expectations that you're holding somebody to, and your ability to release them freed you to truly love them in a deeper, more conscious way, I would love to hear from you. I would love for you to, hashtag me, find me, and share this episode. I think this month is so important, because 99% of the coaching that I do, the work that I do in this world, is around relationships. And I want us all to be stronger and more empowered in the relationships that we have, not just with one another, but with ourselves. So until then, until next time, my beautiful friends, have a beautiful one. Take care. Bye-bye. If this episode cracked something open, good. Let it. And then head to leahrollingcoaching.com and grab the tools to rewire the story and reclaim your future. It is yours. And then share this with someone who's still waiting to be chosen, still waiting for permission, and remind them they don't need a breakthrough, that they are the breakthrough. Until next time, my beautiful friends, invest in you and keep becoming.